Hi, Andrew Crisp, Victoria's Emergency Management Commissioner. Well, I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to provide some input to this really important conference, but I am sorry that I physically can't be there with you. I would have really appreciated the opportunity to listen to other parts of the conference. And I will say up front, I claim no expertise when it comes to homelessness. And that's why I was looking forward to this opportunity to learn from the panelists that will be part of this discussion, but also, as I said, other contributors to the conference as a whole. But in relation to this particular session, and I know the focus is more on those people that will become homeless after a natural disaster or emergency. But I think I want to sort of address it in two parts. So in terms of those that are already homeless when we do have natural disasters or emergencies, and then talk somewhat more about those people that will become homeless, after those natural disasters, of which, of course, we're seeing more and more and have done since 2019-20 fires. But my connection with the homeless goes back quite some time. I've been in this role for 4 years. Prior to that, I was a member of Victoria Police for 40 years, and I still remember, back in 1979, I started work at the Fitzroy Police Station, and we had a lot of homeless people, and it was men. It was generally older men on the street, and I'll say that we used to lock them up, but it was more in terms of being able to give them a hot meal, somewhere to have a sleep, and we built really good relationships with a number of those men. And it was there for me as a very young police officer that I had those conversations with the homeless, and I learned more about their individual stories and how they got to become where they were. So I've always, I've never forgotten those experiences throughout my police career, and now into this particular role that I have. So if I want to go first to those people that are homeless, and more as we're seeing, whether that's in relation to drugs, alcohol, mental health, combination of all of that, cost of living increases that we're seeing at the moment. So a couple of examples for me in more recent times when it comes to the homeless that have been impacted by emergencies or other risks to them. So during COVID, about 12 months ago, we had a major outbreak up in Shepparton in regional Victoria, and a lot of people in the town were locked down, and we had to go up and support the local community in terms of food and other types of relief. When we were there, it was explained to us that there were actually quite a lot of homeless people that were living rough along the river itself, and so it was about how do we then work with those people in terms of ensuring they got the best support possible. And so again, as you'd imagine, it was working with non-profits and local government to be able to connect with that community, and it was a community. And again, we saw the same thing at a state level, very early days in COVID, where the decision was made to fund people that were homeless and provide them with accommodation. Another type of hazard or risk for not just the homeless but the broader communities is around heat. So when we have really forecast hot days here in Victoria, what we will do is that we will make contact with non-profits, great organisations like the Salvation Army, and make sure that we're coordinated in relation to the support that we're providing to the homeless, whether that's getting them, putting them into places where it's cooler, making sure they've got water and can stay hydrated. So that's that piece in relation to the work that we do with the homeless. Can we do that better? Yes, definitely. We need to do that better. Local government, we work with them in terms of a vulnerable persons register, but there is an opportunity to make sure we better understand all those communities, and particularly the more vulnerable communities, when those people might be impacted by an emergency or a natural disaster. I know the focus of this particular session is more about those people that will become homeless as a result of a natural disaster. And as I said before, we've certainly seen many instances of that, and more recently, whether that's Queensland, but more so New South Wales, with significant numbers of people that have been displaced. I think when you look at natural disasters, we've got to sort of break this up. So what we do across all our states and territories, we've got well-practiced processes in relation to establishing relief centres or something similar. So where with local government and government agencies and departments, we all come together and ensure that we are ready to support those people that will leave ahead of a natural disaster, fire, flood, storm, or at the time of where they have to leave in a hurry, or if in fact they have left and they've lost their home. So we've got that relief centre model in place, and it works really, really well. But what we're talking about is those people that lose their homes. So for us, 2019-20, more than 400 homes lost across the northeast and the east of our state. We learnt from 2009 the horrific fires that we experienced in our state. So it is important, we know, for some people to get back on their land as soon as possible. So with these more recent fires, we went to a company down in Gippsland. They build transportable homes, and we got a number of those back on people's properties, fairly quickly, and people were living in them as they went through the process of going through planning and to rebuild on their property. We know that some people they want to go back. Others, they will never ever want to go back. So it's about working with people and identifying what their needs are. So that's a really important piece for us in terms of making sure that we've got those resources available. As we've seen, though, and I touched on cost of living, we know now when it comes to rebuilding, the people that are going through at the moment, really hard to get tradespeople, building costs of a sky high at the moment. So it is creating additional challenges for those people to get back into their new homes as quickly as possible. Another factor when it comes to that is actually planning/insurance. So if you want to rebuild, you've got to get planning approval from local government. What we've seen in a number of areas, and again coming out of the 2009 fires, is there will be additional requirements for people when it comes to rebuilding. So if we talk about the Bell ratings, you have to build to a different standard. A lot of people underinsured in relation to that, or could be uninsured in the first place. So insurance is a key part of the discussion that we need to have, and the role of insurance companies. So that insurance piece and the planning piece will mean that at times it will be very, very difficult for people to get back get back onto their property. During 2009 fires, again, the government did buy back a number of properties, but that's not a long-term sustainable option for government in terms of buying back. So it then comes to about, in effect, we've got what we've got at the moment, but let's think about how best we can plan for the future. With new residential developments, where are they being built? How rigorous is the risk assessment in relation to that particular area when it comes to natural disasters? The first question people should be asking is not necessarily of local government in relation to building at a certain location, is actually going to an insurance company and saying, will you insure me if I build a house at this particular location? So that's at a very, very local level. I've been in conversations, with Emergency Management Australia and the National Resilience and Recovery Agency in more recent times, and about the shift that we need to make from response and recovery to mitigation. So where do we spend our dollars more effectively and efficiently? And there's been various research undertaken over the years where every dollar spent in mitigation will save us $7 in response and recovery. So we need to do that. We need to do that thinking, that planning up front about where people are living. How best do we prepare them? How best do we prepare their properties? How do we work, again, coming back to the insurance companies, to incentivise people to even if there's not a standard such as the Bell rating when it comes to fire, how do we incentivise them to build to a standard and to keep their properties in such a condition that they're in the best position possible to keep themselves safe from natural disasters? So it's very much, as it often is, it's about working at that federal level, it's about working at the state level, and very much about working at the local government. But importantly, and again, this has come out of reviews over the last few years, it is the role, and again, there's more that we can do in terms of working with other organisations that are here, the non-profits. So again, that's coming back to where I started. That's the unfortunate piece for me, is not to be able to sort of further build those networks to listen to what you have to say. But I hope I've given you enough to have a think about, to discuss as part of the panel. But again, I'm really looking forward to the outcomes of the conference as a whole, and what more we can do to work with you to keep our communities, and particularly those homeless, safe. Thank you.